it's a work in progress? Are we working at it?
We working at it.
That's fair.
Even though I do feel you're opportunist.
What do you think I'm getting out of it?
What you getting out of it?
This doesn't impress me. This house, none of this impresses me. Oh, I love her to death.
Well, you don't have to prove that to me now. I got my, and I got people that they get back to me.
I can live with that at least if I know it and I get it from you and I get it from everybody else.
My main concern, Candace said she don't know at what time that I stopped liking you. I didn't stop liking you. I stopped respecting you.
Y'all, when Kandi Burruss walked on to watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen on February 22nd, 2026, it didn't feel like promo night. It felt like the first scene of a true crime series. No yelling, no tears. Just quiet, controlled sentences that shattered 13 years of a fairy tale the internet swore was untouchable. And somehow, most people still haven't caught what she actually confessed on that couch. In this video, we're breaking that interview down like investigators. We're going back to who Todd Tucker really was before Kandi's fame ever crossed his path. We're ripping apart the prenup rumors clause by clause. We're looking at both sides of the custody fight using real court filings, not messy Twitter threads. And then we're doing the one thing nobody online wants to do. We're auditing Mama Joyce and her 13-year trail of warnings, accusations, and predictions to see which ones survive under real evidence. Because baby, Mama Joyce was right all along has become the laziest headline on the internet. And the paperwork tells a very different story. So buckle up. Let's get into it. Now rewind to that February 22nd night, because that Watch What Happens live appearance flipped the whole narrative upside down. Before Kandi spoke, the internet had already written its script. People were screaming that Todd was secretly fighting the prenup, hiding in her guest house with no plan, and that Mama Joyce had predicted this divorce back in 2013 like a reality TV prophet. That was the storyline. That's what everybody reposted like gospel. Then Kandi sat across from Andy Cohen, calm, precise, surgical. And the first truth she dropped, the one people keep pretending they didn't hear, was chillingly simple. This marriage didn't explode overnight. It had been dying quietly for a very long time.
She introduced Kandi to Todd. I told her I could have choked her.
All these lawyers and everything else that you know, you gonna introduce her to one of the workers? Yeah, that's why I could choke you.
Kandi Burruss went on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen and quietly confirmed something that should have shaken the internet to its core. The legal separation date in her divorce filing was July 15th, 2025. That single detail changes everything. Because it means 5 long, silent months passed between the moment the marriage actually broke and the moment she filed the paperwork in November. 5 months. So every smiling photo you saw that summer of 2025, the July 4th appearance at Essence Fest, the hugs at Tamika Tiny Harris's birthday party on July 14th, all of it happened after the marriage was already over behind closed doors. That wasn't a happy couple. That was a woman holding herself together for her children, her brand, and a public life that never stops filming. Not a love story that suddenly shattered overnight. Kandi even said it plainly on the show. It happened in July. July was when I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. She called it a specific situation and refused to explain further. And honestly, she doesn't owe the world the private autopsy of her marriage. What she did owe, and what she delivered, was clarity about the prenup rumor that had been spiraling out of control for months. Because here's the moment that should have stopped every Mama Joyce was right headline dead in its tracks. Kandi said word for word, he actually isn't contesting. They threatened to contest it. She explained that Todd Tucker legal team included language saying that if negotiations failed, they believed they had grounds to challenge the agreement. That's standard legal pressure. Strategy. Lawyering, exactly as Kandi called it. But the internet heard one phrase and ran wild. Blogs screamed Todd Tucker contests prenup like it was a court verdict instead of a negotiation tactic. Comment sections exploded. YouTube channels built entire storylines on a misunderstanding that snowballed into fact. And suddenly, a rumor became a narrative, and a narrative became a truth people refused to question. Kandi also spoke about Mama Joyce, and what she said was quiet but revealing. She said Mama Joyce has been calm, trying not to say too much. But then she admitted something deeper, that online chatter gets into her mother's head. That strangers on blogs start saying, you need to do this, you need to say that, and Mama Joyce absorbs it. Kandi told her directly, Mama Joyce, I don't care. They don't know what's happening between me and him. Even now, in 2026, gossip and comment sections are still pushing Mama Joyce to escalate a war her own daughter is trying to cool down. And that pattern? It didn't start this year. It's 13 years old. We're about to go through every chapter of it. But before we leave that Watch What Happens live interview, there was one more moment that didn't get the headlines it deserved. Kandi revealed that she and Todd had sat side by side at their son Ace's basketball game the night before. She said, "Even if we argue, we still try to be nice to each other. And when this is over, I really think we'll be great co-parents, because our goal is making sure all our kids are happy." That's not a war zone. That's two people trying to navigate heartbreak without destroying their children in the process. It's messy. It's painful. It's human. And it looks nothing like the cartoon villain story the blogs were selling. Keep all of that in your head while we move forward. Because now we have to talk about Todd Tucker, not Kandi's husband, Todd Tucker, not the cartoon villain version people built in comment sections, not the gold digger character Mama Joyce warned the world about. We're talking about Todd Tucker, the television production professional with a resume nobody bothered to read. And honestly, that resume might be one of the most ignored facts in this entire divorce story. So let's correct that tonight. Start at the beginning. Todd Tucker was born in the Bronx, New York on August 4th, 1973. His father died when he was just 3 years old. From there, he clawed his way into television the hard way, no shortcuts, no famous last name, just long nights and production credits stacked one by one. His earliest known credit dates back to 1996, working on the thinner adaptation from Stephen King's novel. Around 2005, he worked on BET's Road to Stardom with Missy Elliott. By 2007, he was production managing 106 and Park. In 2011, he worked behind the scenes on season 25 of The Oprah Winfrey Show. That is 15 straight years of steady industry work before his marriage ever became gossip fodder. And here's the part nobody talks about. In 2007, for years before he even met Kandi Burruss, Todd Tucker became a member of the Directors Guild of America. Let that sink in. The same man people mocked as thrifty had been a card-carrying member of one of entertainment's most respected unions since 2007. He didn't need Kandi to open a door. And if that wasn't enough, in 2025, he released Don't Bring Your Man to Atlanta, where he wasn't just producing, he wrote, directed, cast, composed, and even acted. His page shows 11 producer credits, 6 production management credits, 2 writing credits, 2 casting credits, 1 directing credit, 1 acting credit, 1 composing credit. That isn't a hobby. That's a career built over 15 years before his name ever got tied to Kandi Burruss. Now, let's talk about the prenup, the rumor factory that fueled 1,000 Mama Joyce was right videos. Because the facts look very different from what went viral. The prenup was signed on the eve of their April 4, 2014 wedding. Reported terms said if the marriage ended before 5 years, Todd received nothing. 5 to 10 years meant $100,000. Over 10 years meant $300,000, with separate finances throughout. Kandi and Todd were married 11 years before she filed in November 2025, putting him in the highest bracket, $300,000. $300,000 from a marriage to a woman estimated to be worth $30 to $35 million. That's less than 1% of her estate. Sit with that math. And remember the story Mama Joyce told back in 2014 that Todd delayed signing the prenup and skipped the rehearsal dinner because he didn't want to sign? There's just one problem with that version. The signing was filmed for Bravo cameras. Todd Tucker signed that prenup willingly, on camera, in front of witnesses. Which means the myth people repeated for 13 years might have never been the full story at all. And we know this part isn't rumor, because in December 2025, when Kandi Burruss filed her amended petition, she attached Bravo footage as evidence. Real footage. She walked into court and essentially said, "Here's the tape. Here's my husband signing the prenup himself." Imagine that for a second, reality TV clips becoming courtroom proof. One of the first times in divorce history where scenes from the Real Housewives of Atlanta were submitted to settle a prenup dispute. Think about the irony. The same cameras that amplified Mama Joyce warnings for years are now the cameras proving Todd didn't stall, scheme, or dodge the agreement. The receipts literally exist on Bravo tape. And as Kandi repeated on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen that February night, he actually isn't contesting. They threatened to contest it. So the prenup isn't being overturned. It isn't collapsing. The whole Todd's After Kandi's Money storyline was built on legal language meant to create leverage in negotiations. Standard practice. The same kind of strategy used by divorce attorneys like Randy Kessler, who once represented Portia Williams in her split from Simon Gobadia. Lawyers push pressure points. That's their job. It doesn't mean their client plans to burn everything down. But now we get to the part where the story turns complicated. Custody. Because here, the truth isn't neat. There are 2 sworn filings telling 2 completely different versions of the same marriage, and as of February 23, 2026, no judge has ruled. Kandi's February 12th filing paints a brutal picture. She says Todd Tucker has been living rent-free in the guest house of her Atlanta property, paying nothing toward the children's expenses. She claims he performs fatherhood online while she pays for everything: jiu-jitsu, chess club, basketball, Mandarin tutoring, English tutoring, dance. 100% out of her pocket. She even filed January 8th for an emergency hearing on child support and a parenting plan. And on February 10th, Todd requested temporary primary custody. But Todd's February 13th response tells a different story that most blogs barely mentioned. He claims Candy had family members move his belongings into the guest house without his consent and without a court order, and he chose not to fight to avoid chaos for the kids. He says Candy shut down their joint account, insisted she would handle household bills herself, then later used that setup in court to claim he wasn't contributing, what his filing calls weaponizing a financial arrangement she created. So now the question hangs in the air like a cliffhanger. Did Candy structure things so Todd couldn't contribute, then cite that as proof he wouldn't? Or is Todd hiding behind excuses after years of relying on his wife's money? Both stories are sworn under oath. Both are believable in pieces. And somewhere between them is a truth a judge will eventually have to uncover. What we can say is this: Todd's counterstory is detailed, coherent, and exactly the kind of nuance that disappears when the internet picks a villain early. And here's one fact almost nobody is talking about. While Candy has been in New York performing 8 shows a weekend and Juliet from December 11th, 2025 through March 8th, 2026, Todd has been the weekday parent at home in Atlanta with Ace and Blaze. The man labeled a deadbeat online is the one driving kids to jiu-jitsu, chess club, basketball, Mandarin lessons, while their mother stands under Broadway lights. That context doesn't erase anything, but it changes how the story looks when you finally see all the angles. Alright, this is the chapter everybody clicked for. And before we open it, let me be crystal clear. I'm not here to be cruel to a 76-year-old woman. I'm here because the internet keeps repeating Mama Joyce was right all along like it's courtroom truth. So we're going to slow down, pull out the receipts, and examine the record claim by claim. Because once you actually audit it, the story looks very different. Let's rewind to the Candy's Wedding spinoff that Bravo filmed and aired. On camera, Mama Joyce said that Todd Tucker was raised by a pimp and a prostitute. That's not shade. That's an accusation about a man's deceased parents broadcast on national television. And what happened next is also on tape. Sharon Tucker, Todd's mother, confronted Joyce during the pre-wedding dinner. She said, "Stop threatening him. You set him up." Joyce denied it. Then, 8 months after the wedding, in December 2014, Sharon Tucker died from a stroke, 8 months after being humiliated on a Bravo special. So what happened to the pimp and prostitute story? Joyce later told TMZ she was sorry for repeating gossip about Sharon that turned out to be false. False. Her word. She repeated it on national TV about a living woman and later admitted it wasn't true. That's not prophecy. That's repeating unverified gossip into a camera. And it didn't stop there. Mama Joyce accused Todd of an affair with Carmen Cambryce, one of Candy's employees. She said on The Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 6, everybody knows about the alleged affair. Carmen's answer, "You are the everybody," became a pop culture moment because it exposed the rumor for what it was. Later, Candy Burruss revealed that claim came from a gossip friend named Crystal, not from texts, not from witnesses, not from court filings. Just hearsay that got aired like evidence. Mama Joyce also admitted she hired a private investigator to follow Todd. She tried to throw her shoe at Carmen during a bridal fitting footage that aired in Season 6 infamous episode, The Old Lady and the Shoe. Cameras caught all of it. Fast forward to BravoCon 2022. Joyce played Truth or Drink on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. Asked to name 3 nice things about Todd, she said, "He's still short. He shaved his beard some. And he's nice to his kids." Then added she would have picked anyone with a decent job in her financial realm. Those comments triggered months of silence between Todd and his mother-in-law. Not a split with Candy, but a Cold War sparked by a public insult at a major industry event. Now here's the twist that should make everyone pause. In a 2020 interview with Essence, before the divorce chaos, before the headlines, Mama Joyce said, "I've never been angry with Todd. Never." This from the same woman who accused his parents, hired an investigator, spread affair rumors, sabotaged his prenup narrative, threw a shoe at his coworker, and sparked months-long family estrangements. That's not consistency. That's revisionism wrapped in denial. To be fair, around February 17th, 2026, TMZ caught Mama Joyce smiling on a New York sidewalk. Asked about the divorce, she said, "As long as Candy's happy, I'm happy." And what happened next says everything. Candy physically pulled her mother away from the camera to stop her from talking. Because Candy, the woman living this divorce in real time, knew exactly how fast one sentence could become another wildfire headline. And she wasn't about to let another narrative spin out of control. That moment wasn't a daughter basking in her mother's wisdom. That was Candy Burruss pulling damage control in real time, the reflex of someone who's spent 13 years sweeping up headlines that started with Mama Joyce and ended with her marriage under a microscope. And look, I'm not going to fake moral panic here. I've been glued to this drama like the rest of you. This story has layers, timelines, contradictions, receipts, everything that makes a scandal impossible to ignore. But now it's starting to spiral into something reckless. And I know some of y'all are going to say I crossed a line talking about Mama Joyce like this, that I'm dragging an elderly woman while her daughter's marriage is collapsing. Here's why that argument doesn't hold. We're not revisiting Mama Joyce's history to be cruel. We're doing it because the dominant narrative online right now, the one echoing through blogs, TikTok threads, and comment sections, is Mama Joyce was right all along. And that narrative is being used to paint Todd Tucker as something the documented record simply doesn't support. When a storyline gets that powerful, you don't ignore it. You audit it. And when you audit it, what do you find? Allegations about Todd's parents that were later retracted. A private investigator hired to follow him. A shoe thrown at an employee caught on the Real Housewives of Atlanta cameras. A 2020 quote saying she was never angry with Todd, sitting right next to 13 years of footage that shows the opposite. That's not prophecy. That's contradiction. And being loud and consistent about a wrong prediction doesn't magically make it right. So, let's close the loop carefully. The whole Mama Joyce was right argument really rests on two things: the prenup threat and the custody filing. Todd's lawyer included language about possibly challenging the prenup, and Todd filed for primary custody. In the court of public opinion, those two facts became one headline: the gold digger finally